Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Urwatul Luska and my topic of discussion is Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus is one of the most whispered and fascinating viruses in human. Epstein-Barr virus is a member of herpes family officially called human herpes virus 4. It is infecting over 90% of the global population by adulthood and has a profound impact on health, causing infectious mononucleosis and being associated with certain cancers such as nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Let's dive into its discovery, characteristics, clinical significance, and its mode of action. Epstein-Barr virus was discovered by Mr. Michael Anthony Epstein and John Barr in 1964. They identified the virus while studying tissue samples from a Burkitt's lymphoma patient. This discovery was a pivotal moment in virology as EBV became the first human virus linked to cancer. In late 1960s, EBV was linked to infectious mononucleosis. Today, it is recognized as a causative agent of 90% adult diseases. Let's have an overview about the epidemiology of Epstein-Barr virus. In Africa and Asia, there are high rates of nasopharyngeal carcinoma and Burkitt's lymphoma, which are associated diseases of EBV. These diseases are most common in young adults. In West, the most common primary infection of EBV, called as infectious mononucleosis, is common in young adults with the age range of 15 to 25 years. Let's discuss the morphology of Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus belongs to class 1 according to Baltimore classification, which are double-stranded DNA viruses. It is an enveloped virus with an icosahedral symmetry. Its diameter has a size of 80 to 120 nanometer, and the length of its capsid, including its envelope, can reach up to 200 nanometer. Its envelope proteins include LMP1 and LMP2. It has linear double-stranded DNA consisting of 85 genes with the size of 172 kbp. Its genome form episome to persist in host nucleus. Let's discuss the modes of transmission of Epstein-Barr virus. How actually it is transmitted. Epstein-Barr virus can be transmitted through saliva. It is a primary mode of its transmission. It can be transmitted through sharing utensils and personal items, respiratory secretions, contaminated surfaces, and rarely can be transmitted through blood and organ transplant, and very rarely it can be transmitted through perineal transmission. Epstein-Barr virus has various portals of entry. It can enter the human body through various sites. It can enter through oral cavity, upper respiratory tract, conjunctiva, eyes, gastrointestinal tract, and very rarely through sexual transmission. Let's have the overview of the pathogenesis of Epstein-Barr virus. Then we will discuss in detail how actually Epstein-Barr virus replicate. Predominantly, human Epstein-Barr virus affects B lymphocytes, but it also has the ability to affect epithelial cells. It establishes lifelong infections in B lymphocytes generally. Its reactivation occurs in the compromised immune systems. Like all herpes viruses, EBV established lifelong infections in its host. It has two major life phases, lytic phase and the latent phase. In lytic phase, active replication leads to new virus production, and in latent phase, dormancy within B lymphocytes evades the immune system. Let's discuss the life cycle of Epstein-Barr virus. And we know viruses can cause infection in 7 steps. First step is attachment, how the virus is attached to host cell, then penetration, how they enter host cell, uncoating, how they unwind themselves or their genome, replication, how they replicate themselves or their genome, actually how they increase their number, assembly, how they assemble themselves, maturation, how they get mature, and then lastly release, how they cause diseases. So, as I told you earlier, human Epstein-Barr virus is an enveloped double-stranded DNA virus. Like all other enveloped viruses, Epstein-Barr viruses also have the surface proteins present on their envelope. For example, GP350 or 220 and GP42. On while being attached to host receptors, absorption of viruses actually takes place. Then the second step we have is penetration, how the viruses enter the cell. And I told you earlier, human Epstein-Barr viruses have the ability to infect both B lymphocytes and human epithelial cells as well. So, Epstein-Barr viruses enter the human cell, enter the B lymphocytes and epithelial cell with two different mechanisms. Let's discuss how they enter the B lymphocytes and epithelial cells. Epstein-Barr virus penetrate inside B lymphocyte with the mechanism of receptor-mediated endocytosis. Viral glycoproteins GP350O220 binds to CD21 receptor present on the surface of B lymphocyte. CD21 is a complement receptor that normally binds complement component C3D. GB42, another viral glycoprotein, interact with MHC class II molecule acting as a co-receptor. This binding triggers receptor-mediated endocytosis, leading to the internalization of virus into the host cell. Inside the endosome, the viral envelope fused with the endosomal membrane. This step is mediated by viral glycoprotein GH or GL and GP42, which forms a fusion complex. The viral capsid is released into the cytoplasm. The capsid is then transported along the microtubules to the nuclear pores where the viral genome is delivered into the nucleus for replication or latency establishment. Now, we will discuss how Epstein-Barr virus penetrates inside the epithelial cell. Epstein-Barr virus penetrates inside the epithelial cell by using the mechanism of simple membrane fusion. Epstein-Barr virus uses viral glycoprotein BMFR2 to interact with integrins present on the surface of epithelial cells. GH or GL complex also facilitates binding them to the epithelial cell surface. Unlike B lymphocytes, EBV can fuse directly with the plasma membrane of epithelial cells mediated by the GH or GL fusion complex. This direct fusion releases the capsid into the cytoplasm without requiring endocytosis. Similar to the process in B lymphocytes, the capsid is then transported to nuclear pores and the viral genome is delivered into the nucleus. After being penetrated inside the host nucleus, they uncoat themselves. Epstein-Barr virus encode themselves into the cytoplasm and move to the micronucleus with the help of microtubules. As we all know, double-stranded DNA viruses or DNA viruses replicate inside the nucleus of the host cell with the exception of the pox virus which replicate in the cytoplasm of the host cell. Now we will discuss how Epstein-Barr virus replicates. After being entered inside the nucleus of the host cell, host RNA by using the host RNA polymerase virus transcribed early genes, for example, BZLF1 or BRLF1. These messenger RNAs are translated into proteins which aid in the replication of the viral genome. Viral DNA replicates using viral DNA polymerase. Host RNA polymerase then transcribe late genes which are actually structural proteins. These capsid proteins and other components assemble to form virons. Newly replicated viral genome are packed into the capsid inside the nucleus. Virons envelop themselves by nuclear or cytoplasmic membrane via the process of budding. Virons exit the cell via exocytosis or cell lysis. Let's discuss the immune evasion caused by the Epstein-Barr virus. Latency associated proteins such as LMP1 suppress the immune response, preventing the infected B lymphocytes from being destroyed by cytotoxic T lymphocytes. The virus can negatively regulate the expression of MHC class I molecule, making it harder for immune system to detect infected cells. During latency, the virus avoids producing many viral proteins that would normally trigger a strong immune response. Let's discuss how the presence of Epstein-Barr virus in the blood or in human body can be detected. Its presence can be detected through serological testing such as EBV, Ig test, molecular tests such as PCR or in situ hybridization, blood smear, hematological tests such as LFT or CBC, scanning such as ultrasound, CT scan, and biopsy. Let's say possible diseases caused by the Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus is famous for the nasopharyngeal carcinoma and Burkitt's lymphoma in Asia and Africa, and in West it is common for the infectious mononucleosis. But other than these, it can be the causative agent of oral hairy leukopenia, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune diseases, or Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's it from my side. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.